use throughout the session. I'm trying to get some additional copies made right now because I made 25 because I didn't know how many folks were going to show up for the session. So we're going to see if we can get some additional copies made. So this session in your program is entitled "It's More Than Profit," but I have a expanded title for this. So it's using social entrepreneurship to achieve success beyond profits. And so it looks like we have some additional copies for you now. So this session will help attendees to define success and types of it, review often used descriptors of success, understand the types of non-monetary success measurements, define conscientious business, its meaning and elements of it, and discuss social entrepreneurship and its purpose, along with identifying ways to use social entrepreneurship to positively impact and change lives. So expectations for this session. So participants should be encouraged to be engaged and encouraged to participate with the discussions. Identify some takeaways from this session. We want to support each other's learning as well. And always be excited to learn. And one of the things that I always like to do whenever I present is to try to have a little bit of fun. So a little bit about my background, because I think it's important to share information about the presenter's background. It provides a little bit of perspective. So I'm a graduate of the American and the George Washington Universities. Woo! Yeah. All right. All right. See, you might see me over there sometime soon too. I have over 10 years of experience working with Fortune 500 companies. I've worked at companies like Xerox, MCI WorldCom, Windstar, Nextel, Sprint Nextel. I've done consulting engagements, but I tell folks that I probably should come with a little bit of a disclaimer because a lot of the companies that I've worked for are either don't exist anymore or are significantly less than they were before I started working there. So you probably don't want to work with me. So I am an author of 14 books. I'm a blogger on the Huffington Post and an inspirational speaker. So I write a lot about sometimes taboo topics about overcoming challenges. I'm a former at-risk student. I also write about depression and suicide prevention, ethics, and workplace bullying, and a lot of other controversial topics as well. And then I'm also a radio host. I have a show that's called Beyond Just Talk with S.L. Young. It's on a little bit of hiatus right now, but I'm in the planning process to bring my show back on the air, hopefully by the end of this month. So, questions. So on your worksheet, answer the following. Thank you. How do you define success, and what is success for you? So let's just take a quick minute or two to answer that. And so the second question on there, I changed my mind when I was putting this presentation together. So the second question, the B question, is what is success for you? So how do you define success, and what is success for you? So you would think that how do you define success would be the easy one. Sometimes it's not the easiest question to answer. All right. Who would like to share with me their answer for the first one? How do you define success? Yes, sir.
I would define success as, achieving your goals at first. But even if you don't achieve your goals fully or partially, you at least get something out of it, like a learning experience, or you learn what not to do next time. So.
Are you reading ahead in my notes?
No.
Oh, wow. But that's a good answer, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
Oh, you get a candy?
You get a candy too.
Is that how it works?
And then, a little bit of encouragement of participation. So would someone like to provide their answer to what is success for you? So what is success for you? Anybody would like to share? Yes, sir.
For me, it's doing what I want, feeling like I'm making a difference, and making a living for myself and my family.
I think that's a great answer, and I'm going to try to, almost. I didn't want to take anyone's eye out. All right, so success defined. So success is the achievement of an individual's or organization's planned or unplanned efforts. So a lot of times we think about success is about the things that we plan to do, right? So we say that I have this vision, this mission, this goal, this objective that I'm pursuing. So it's something that I set out to do. But I would argue that sometimes our successes come from the unplanned activities. And sometimes some of our biggest learning moments come from the most negative moments in our life. And sometimes those negative moments can lead to successes as well. And then usually accomplished during the pursuit of the things that I described: vision, mission, goal, and objectives. And success can be positive or negative. So don't just think of success as something that's positive, but also think about those times that you've had a negative experience and what is it that you learned from those experiences. Because sometimes when we think about what went wrong, it can be one of the best teachers to help us to be better the next time. Because how many of you go back and review your success after you've completed something that you said, oh my God, I was great at that? How many times do you actually go back and review what happened? Not as many times as you probably do if something went wrong. So you want to do it in both scenarios. So on your worksheet, provide a few words on each line that describe success. So how do you describe success? All right, so this time, would somebody like to share with me what they wrote down as a few words that help them to describe success? Yes, sir.
Content or like complete. Like if you have success, you're done with it, you don't have to go back to it again.
Okay, so being content or complete. Oops, I just lost it. That's rule number one. Put your clicker in the other hand. Lesson learned. Don't do that again. All right, so I won't throw with this hand. I'll put it in this hand. Okay. Wow, I'm glad I didn't take anybody's eye out. All right. So words often used to describe success. So a lot of times when we think about success, we think about being financially secure or well off. Yeah, do I have enough income? Highly educated. That is a definition of success that's often thought about. A great career or position. High income earner, revenue generator. And that revenue generator can be that could be for yourself, or it could be for a company that you work for. Because if you're the top sales generator in an organization, there's prestige in that. Power, just having power. But the one thing that I always like to point out about power is something that we use because we have to, not because we have it. And I think too often individuals will use power because it's available to them, and that should be the last resort. So there's a lot of ways that we can work with individuals so that we can help them, encourage them, guide them, mentor them without hitting them over the head. And then status. And that's another thing that's overrated. Because one of the things that one of my mentors taught me years ago is that there's a lot of folks that are fronting, right? They're saying, I've got this BMW, I've got this big house, I've got these nice clothes, and they're struggling because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses. They're trying to give up this image. And the nice sort of illustration that he provided to me was, he said, if you think about folks and how they present themselves in terms of success and status, what you see is what they want you to see. So they'll show you this. But what he said is, you take something and you stick it through and you turn it to the side, and then you really start to look on the other side, there's nothing there. So be careful what somebody is providing you as window dressing, because it's not necessarily what's actually there. And I would argue also that some of the most successful people won't flash their status in your face. Some of the most successful people you will never know. Some of the most successful people don't dress like they're a success because they don't have to. They're comfortable in who or what they are. And then there's some other considerations. So on your worksheet now, list types of success that exist beyond profits. So what types of success exist beyond profits? I'm going to open up a little bit. It's a little warm when you're presenting. Actually, if you don't mind, we'll get a little bit more comfortable. So on your worksheet, list types of success that exist beyond profits. Go ahead.
So like if you have a goal to lose weight or reduce body fat, that would be a type of success if you actually
Exactly. I'm not going to try going all the way down.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So a personal goal. What else could be a type of success? One more. Oh, sir.
Growth.
Growth, personal growth. Yeah, I saw a couple of hands, so I don't want to deny other folks an opportunity to have some candy too. Well, what else do we have? Man.
Helping others.
Helping others, absolutely. Sir.
Organizational success and sustainability.
Exactly, yeah. Sir,
Helping others in the community.
I'm sorry,
Helping the community.
helping the community. See, I knew my candy would start to work. Books are starting to open up a little bit. Yeah, helping the community, exactly. So let's look at different types of success. So, personal. That was one of the first things that was brought up, associated with someone's development or growth. Organizational, that was another one that was brought up. Pursued to accomplish the purpose in which an organization was created. And then also societal, focused on the greater good and an ability to help as many people as possible. And a lot of times we don't think about the societal impact while we're conducting business, because we should think about the things that we're doing as a business and how can our contributions not only generate profits and make our organization bigger, but also figure out how do our contributions lead to greater successes for society as a whole. So when you're going about your day and doing your work and you're working towards your college degree or you're working towards that next promotion, are you thinking about how your work or your efforts are going to lead to contributions for others? Do you think about that? And if you're not thinking about that, I would encourage you to start thinking that way. So another question, are there other types of success? So we've talked about a few different types, but are there other types of success? Yes, ma'am.
Having a family.
Having a family, yeah. Building a nice family, yeah. That could be another type of success. Anything else? Maybe one more? Does someone else have another type of success that they would like to share? Okay. So types of non-monetary success. Animal protections. There's organizations that are set up to protect animals. Educational. By helping others to develop and grow, that's another type of non-monetary success. Environmental, protecting the environment. And then humanitarian or societal, because humanitarian, it could be targeted towards a specific relief effort. Or societal, how do we impact the greater good? Things that impact the world as a whole. So there also are alternative success measurements, and here, the examples of those, actually I'm going to provide you some specific examples. The Humane Society, they do animal protections. Educational, 1 laptop per child is an initiative where they provide laptops to children around the world that don't necessarily have it, and we'll talk a little bit about it later. Environmental, Dawn Soap. Dawn Soap has a great use for environmental disasters such as oil spills. And I don't know if any of you heard in the news over the last 24 to 48 hours, if you're not here locally or even if you are, that there was an oil spill in the Potomac. And some of those birds are being relocated to develop them not to develop them, but to rescue them right now. And so they're probably going to be using Dawn soap to clean them up. And then humanitarian social. So Soapbox Soaps. The keynote speaker today is going to be talking about the work that they do to provide soap products, but while they sell soap products, they'll also provide soaps for other folks, but they'll also provide clean water as well. Tom's. How many of you are familiar with Tom's Shoes? Yeah, great initiative. Buy one, give one. So you purchase a pair of shoes, and then they will provide shoes as well. And then the last one is my organization, which is Saving Our Communities at Risk Through Educational Services, otherwise known as SOCARTES. So question, on your worksheet, describe what it means to be a conscientious business. So what does it mean to be a conscientious business? What do you think that means? A conscious business, sorry, not conscientious. So would someone like to give that a try? Yes, ma'am.
Like taking the time to think of what your environment needs or like what you as a business can do like for society, whether it be like small or larger scale.
Exactly, beyond what's going on in your organization, right?
Thank you.
I'm not going to throw so much anymore. All right, so a definition for a conscientious business. An organization that's focused on the development of meaningful products, services, or benefits that have a greater purpose. It could be human interest, it could be environmental, beyond a sole focus on profits. Okay? So a conscious business focuses on its purpose. So what does it set out to do? What's the mission of the organization? Its potential. what's the likelihood that it's going to make a positive impact? Because it's not just about generating money, but what's the positive impact that we can have on society as a whole, within our communities? And that can be driven by some of the initiatives that an organization has. So let's say that you're working for an organization and they say, you know what, once a quarter, you can take 5 or 10 hours to go volunteer at an organization within the community that's meaningful for you. And so, why does it matter if an organization might say to you, go volunteer at an organization that's meaningful for you, versus saying, go volunteer at this organization? What difference does that make? Yes, ma'am.
It gives you the option.
It gives you the option of what?
Of going what you will feel is beneficial as opposed to what the company feels is beneficial.
And then so how might that help you to be more involved in what you're doing?
Because you can be more excited about doing it, as opposed to wanting to do it because you have to do it.
Right, because there's that personal interest in investment. Did either of you have something different?
I was gonna add like the passion for it, like if it's something that maybe affected your life or someone you know, stuff like that. There's
Absolutely.
passion to get behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I always like to tell my students and folks that I work with is don't do anything for money. Do it for passion. Because passion will get you through the tough times. And we'll talk about my organization as well, because over the years that I've been working to build, I've had no said to me so many times, even by organizations and individuals that I thought would support me. And the thing that has kept me moving forward towards what I want to achieve is my passion, and because of that personal experience that I can use and leverage to help others. Promise, your ability to deliver on your promise, or your purpose also. So, here's the thing, a lot of organizations will go out and they'll do things, but do they always deliver on what their promise is? So what's the promise that the organization is set out to do, to deliver, to achieve? And you want to make sure that you're meeting that, because what happens if you're set out to deliver a certain promise and you don't deliver it? What happens? Sir?
You potentially lose clients and customers.
Absolutely. Sir? Did you? I saw a hand over this. Same thing? You look familiar. Did I see you last year? No, okay, you look familiar. And then protections. Ensures its actions don't or won't negatively impact others or the environment. Because it is our responsibilities as business stewards to make sure that the things that we're doing don't negatively impact others or the environment. It is our responsibility to make sure that we ensure those protections are in place. So, here's a question for you. What is a social entrepreneur? What do you think a social entrepreneur is? Well, let's take a step back. What's an entrepreneur? Sir?
Someone who recognizes opportunity and creates a product or come up with an idea to capitalize on that opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely the case. And then so if we take that and continue on, what might a social entrepreneur do? Yes, sir.
Address like social issues and take advantage of that opportunity to fix them.
Absolutely, is to discover things that might have a societal impact and figure out ways that the problem can be addressed. So, a definition for you. A social entrepreneur is someone who assumes the risk to use their talents, efforts, and passions to pursue or develop initiatives that benefit individuals, society, animals, or the environment. That's what a social entrepreneur does. So what traits do a social entrepreneur possess? Now this one won't be for Candy, but I'll take your answer too.
I'd say compassion, probably.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of the top ones, just because they are going to care about the actual outside of just profit and maximizing that. So they're looking for other opportunities to help the environment and whatever else is out there.
Yeah, being compassionate is very important, sir.
Interpersonal skills.
Interpersonal skills, sir?
I would say boldness and assertiveness, because there will be times where your organization may fail, but you're able to continue to go through that.
Okay, ma'am?
I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with compassion, but empathetic, like empathy,
Yeah, empathy, ma'am.
honesty.
Honesty, absolutely. Did you start? I thought, if you start to move, I sort of see something going on over there. But there's a lot of different traits that a social entrepreneur has. So some of the ones that I want to point out to you are purpose. So they're driven by their purpose. They have passion about what it is that they're going after. They have a perspective about what's going on, and they can bring that perspective to drive solutions to specific challenges. Positivity, because social entrepreneurs believe that they can make a difference, and they're going to bring all of their energy towards that. So one of the terms that I've coined is that individuals won't do anything until they're ready to tee off. That means they're ready to use their time, energy, and effort on fulfilling fantasies. And what's another word for fantasies? Dreams, absolutely. So you're going to use your energy towards those things that you're ready to provide your time, energy, and effort on fulfilling fantasies or otherwise dreams. They're patient because big change does not happen overnight. A lot of times folks will say, oh my gosh, this person was an overnight success. There aren't a lot of overnight successes. Overnight success is easy for me to say, usually 5 to 10 years in the making. It takes a long time. So my idea for creating my nonprofit, which we'll talk about shortly, I actually had the idea for my nonprofit in about 2002 or 2003. So sometimes it takes a while from idea to actually realization or starting to move forward. But I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to do it. I even had a name for the organization. And it actually still, so I think my first organization, when I was thinking about it, was saving our communities at risk. I'm sorry, saving our children at risk. I was going to call it soccer, because soccer, kids, they can relate to that. And then when I started to go through some of my own personal challenges and think about some of the things that I've done, and as I talk more with my students about vulnerabilities, because vulnerabilities are not a bad thing. A lot of times we think that they're weaknesses. Vulnerabilities, and learning to share my vulnerabilities and the things that have happened to me, whether professionally or personally, those are the things that have helped me to grow the most. Because when you no longer worry about what anybody thinks about what you've been through or what you've experienced or what you can bring to others, then your limitations are pushed far away from you, and you start to push forward instead of push back or inward in terms of what you want to do. And then perseverance. Perseverance is one of the most important traits and strengths that you can ever have, because anything that you want to achieve is going to take time to develop properly. Yeah, you can jump out there and do something, but is that the best way to do it? Because you can go out and do something tomorrow and not be successful. And there could be a lot of folks telling you, you can't do it, you won't do it, you'll never be able to achieve anything that you're dreaming of. But if you really believe in your purpose, you're passionate about it, you understand your own perspective, you're positive about it, because the positivity is going to help you when those negative moments happen, but you're also patient and you realize that good things take time to develop, and then you persevere through those tough times. Because remember, I said, don't do anything for money, do it for passion. Because passion is going to get you past those difficult times and moments. So what benefits do social entrepreneurs have on individuals, businesses, or society? So what value does a social entrepreneur have? Yes, ma'am.
They can bring money back to the community in a way through, or they can provide jobs to people who might not necessarily be able to, or kind of overlooked for more traditional jobs.
Absolutely. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But investments and contributions back into the community, because that's what social entrepreneurs do. Or provide protections into the communities, or bring awareness to things that others might not know anything about, or bring a different light to it, because sometimes folks will think, well, that's an issue, but it doesn't bother me, until you have a conversation about it in more detail. Or you tell a personal story. Personal stories are the best way to connect with individuals about something that you're passionate about. Benefits of social entrepreneurs. They challenge the status quo. They say, this isn't right. We need to do something about this. And they're not afraid to stand up for what they believe in. They develop unique solutions to overcome issues. Because a lot of times when we have an issue that exists, folks have been trying to solve the same issue the same way for many, many different years. And it might be just, this might be the path that they might be on, but then it might be, well, let's just do a little branch here or a little branch here. Well, why not come at it this way, or this way, or this way, or this way, right? So we've got to think about how do we approach an issue that exists differently. Increase awareness about their causes. So when you can tell a personal story and you're passionate about something, you can bring a greater awareness. And then when you can make that emotional connection, because emotional intelligence is very important as well. And when you bring your purpose and your passion and your pain sometimes, you can bring that emotional connection to an issue that will get folks involved when they might not otherwise. Drive support to address an unmet need. And then create niche markets. So sometimes by doing something that's social and focused, what we do is we create markets that might not otherwise exist. And folks start to see, hey, he's doing something over there, and it's actually starting to generate some revenue or sponsorships or money starting to come in. Maybe we can add on to that. Because one of the things, I just want to make sure that I say this now so that I don't forget, my idea for my organization is, I don't believe in being a silo. So when you're a silo, what happens a lot of times? You're doing what? Working by yourself. And you're not thinking about all the other things that are going on around you. So my vision is that my organization, as it grows and it continues to evolve, will be able to work across organizations. So if I am developing my organization for a strategic purpose, why can't I take my strategic purpose and then go into other nonprofits and deliver the same services using their infrastructure that's there, and then I just come in and I deliver my services? So there's a lot of different ways that we can look at things. And then prove that perceived limitations can be overcome with a dream, desire, and determination. It all starts with a dream. It's funny how many times when I talk to individuals, and I work with inmates as well, and I'll talk to these guys about overcoming their challenges. And they'll say to me, I want to start a business, but I don't know where to start, or nobody's going to help me. Or I don't have the money. That's probably the biggest one that they say. So how many of you believe that money is the biggest limiter in order for you to start an initiative or a business? Money isn't the biggest limiter. What's the biggest limiter? Yourself, right? Because it doesn't take anything to have a dream or a vision, right? So if you have a dream or a vision, what can you do with that?
Achieve it.
Well, you can achieve it eventually, right? Or work towards it. But what can you do initially when you're starting with a dream or vision? Turn it into a plan. And that's great. And I think sometimes plans are overrated. Sometimes you just jump in and do. It's a little bit quicker. But what is it that you do with that dream?
Share it.
You share it. You communicate it with others. And a lot of times when we have these dreams, we're afraid to share it. And what I have found, and I know some of my friends are like, why is he always talking about, well, he's going this and doing this and doing this, or he just wrote about this. I don't care what they think about what I'm doing, because they're really supporting me. They're going to understand, or they're going to ask me a question about why am I doing it this particular way. Because I have huge dreams. I want to change the world. I'm crazy enough to think that I can. And I'm going to tell as many people as possible about my dream. Because even though the doors keep closing here and the doors close there and the doors close, I know that I believe in my purpose. And I know I'm one person away from telling my story or saying what I've done, what I've achieved. And then they're going to say, you know what? We want to invest in it. One person invest in my dream and it'll change everything that I'm doing today on a smaller scale. Don't be afraid to tell anybody your dreams. And then to change lives, what's more meaningful, impactful can you do but to impact lives? A lot of times we think that we're individuals, that we're chasing our own personal dreams. And that the only thing that matters is that, did I get that promotion? Am I earning a good income? But it's so much more than that. It's about being able to connect with humanity. It's about being able to lift each other up and make a difference, make contributions that go well beyond who we are today. Because all of us are standing on the shoulders of somebody who came before us. Because their contributions helped us to be here today. And one of the things that I always like to tell folks is that you have not done anything alone. I hate when I hear folks say, well, I did this, and I did this, and I did this. You didn't do anything alone. The road you drove in on, the seats that you're sitting in right now, the food that's prepared for you, somebody else has helped. And if we think about it on a very fundamental level, when you were born, somebody helped to deliver you. And when you die, someone will help to bury you. So you don't do anything alone. So examples of social entrepreneurs. So we talked about one laptop per child provides children with rugged, low-cost, low-power, connected laptops to the world's poorest children. Soapbox Soaps, you'll hear about the keynote speaker later today, empowers consumers to change the world through everyday quality purchases. For every product sold, a bar of soap or a month of clean water is given to a person in need. And then Tom's provides shoes, sight, water, safe birth, and bullying prevention services to people in need through consumer purchases. And then my organization teaches at-risk individuals about life, business, and soft skills within their communities. So you want to be a social entrepreneur. So how do you become one? You identify an unmet need and you go out there and you try to fulfill it. It's as simple as that. It starts with a dream and a need and a willingness to do something. Ensure you're passionate about your work, which will be very beneficial during tough times, and we talked about that earlier. Seek mentors who can provide guidance to help you build your organization. I always like to tell folks to have several types of mentors. Have a professional mentor, have an organizational mentor, have a mentor that's within your specialty, and then have a mentor that's within your field. So at least 4 types of mentors, and you can have a lot more. Folks have contributions, and folks are willing to share. Well, I just want to go back to the inmates. One of the guys who said to me, well, I can't do this because I don't have any money. I said, of course you can. You have a dream, don't you? He said, yeah, I have a dream. He goes, but I need money to develop my dream. I said, no, you don't. Have you heard of the internet? You can do a search on the internet right now and look for someone who's doing something similar, or someone who may be talking about something that you want to do. And then what could the individual do?
Reach out to that person.
Exactly. Do you know there's a lot of us that are willing to just have a conversation just because you pick up the phone and say, would you mind telling me about your experiences? There's a lot of us that like to share. I write about overcoming challenges. 2 months ago, I had a gentleman from Pennsylvania. He was writing me back and forth. I actually thought it was one of my students just trying to be funny. And then so we were writing back and forth, and he eventually said, well, can we talk on the phone? And I said, sure. Why not? And whenever somebody reaches out to me, it may take me a little while to get back to them, but I try to get back to them quickly. If they want me to write them, I'll write them. If they want to speak on the phone, I'll speak on the phone. I'll give everybody at least a half hour, because I think everybody deserves at least that amount of time, because they took the effort to reach out to me. And what this guy said to me is, you've discovered your purpose. Can you help me find mine? That was one of the most powerful moments of my life, that someone said, you've gone through all these things and discovered what's meaningful to you. Now help me discover mine. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There's no pride in ownership. Do not be afraid to ask someone for help. Our egos can get in the way too often. And then if you're doing something, have fun. And if you're not having fun, you're not passionate about it, life is too short to continue to do something that you're not satisfied with. So a little bit about my organization. So as I told you, Saving Our Communities at Risk Through Educational Services, the short name is SOCARTES. It's a play on words. For what? Socrates, right? And so it reflects my teaching style. So my teaching style is very interactive, question and answers, because I believe in active participation, don't I, Anthony?
Absolutely.
One of my students. I don't believe a lot in passive, and I don't believe in a lot of exams. I do a lot of oral exams, because in business, how many times is someone going to say, show up at noon on Tuesday and take an exam? But what they do say is, tell me what you know, and if you don't know, I'll help you through it. Because one of the exams that we had last semester is the students stood up and they had an oral exam. I asked them, what did they know? And then they started. And if they did not know, what happened, Anthony?
We got to ask our colleagues for help, our other classmates.
Isn't that what happens in business and in life? When you don't know something, you ask your team. And your team lifts you up. So, my why. So, all of you need to discover your why. Why do you exist? Why are you doing what you're doing? So I'm a former at-risk student who overcame considerable challenges to achieve educational and professional success. Just a short story. In 10th grade, I was directed to leave high school without anyone trying to assist me after I failed 6 out of 7 classes. I had missed over 1/3 of the school year. I graduated high school barely, and on the day that I was going to commencement activities, I did not know whether I would graduate or not. I graduated with a 1.52 GPA. I went to 2 colleges before I started to achieve success, and one of the colleges I left, I had 2 semesters with a 0.0 average. I got into American University through the back door. They had a non-degree program, and I went and asked, because others that were working with me were taking a master's program, I said to them, how do I get in? These folks are taking a master's degree program. How do I get in? And they didn't judge me. They said, if you want to be admitted to this university, you can take classes non-degree. You take a few classes non-degree, and then you will be allowed to get in. So I took several semesters of classes non-degree, and I earned my place at American University. So even though it was a prestigious university, I did not think that that school was too good for me. Because I knew what my dreams were, I knew what my capabilities were, and I was willing to do the work. But what I needed was someone to provide an opportunity. And a lot of times what individuals don't do is they don't provide opportunities. And I will tell you, over the last couple of years, as I've continued to push forward to develop my dreams and to try to help more folks, I have fallen flat on my back. And I will tell you something very personal right now. In March of 2014, I was one phone call from taking my life. I made my final phone call. And I'm trying not to get emotional about it, get emotional. But when I was falling down, I put my arm up to help others who were falling too. Because that same day that I almost took my life, I got up and I went to a jail to teach others. And I have found, through telling my story and sharing my vulnerabilities, that when I wrote my book, Above Expectations, I found this happy news telegram from my first grade teacher. My mom still had it, and it's in my book. And it said, Stacy is my right arm. He helps students who aren't as gifted. So even back in first grade, that was my purpose. I have always been an educator, but it took tough times and tough choices for me to discover who I am to fulfill my purpose. So now I can use my purpose to drive my passion to help a lot of people to be a lot better and to persevere and to prosper in the things that they want to do. So when you can make those connections and discover your why, that makes all the difference. I'm driven to share my experiential and authentic knowledge to help others who are struggling or sometimes systematically left behind, because sometimes folks are systematically left behind, especially if they look like me. And then my mantra is, it's not about me, it's about the collective we, and I'm trying to find the next me. Because I was told that I wasn't good enough. They told me to leave. Told me to leave school. In my senior year, a counselor said to me, you'll never make it into college, don't even bother applying. Imagine if I had listened to that individual. So it's now my job to go back and tell all those others that are being told that you cannot do it, you can do it, and I will help you to achieve it. So my vision, quickly, is to basically engage learners within their communities to help them and teach them right there in the community. So I'll go into their communities. I go into the jails. I go into community centers, and I work with individuals. I go into high schools. I encourage learners to challenge themselves to advance their capabilities. And then what my goal is to create a pool of marketable resources, because there's a lot of folks that are being told, well, you can't enter because you don't have a degree. There's a lot of talented people that have never gotten a degree that just need an opportunity. So through my organization, what my dream is that within like a 6-month period, I can train folks on an abbreviated version of my business class, teach them soft skills, and get them ready for entry-level positions, because I would argue that a lot of positions do not require a college degree. And the reason that folks get a college degree is because it demonstrates commitment. Yes, you learn a lot of different things along the way, but if folks go through a 6-month process with me, I can show that they're demonstrating commitment too, that they want to change. They just need opportunity, and that opportunity is going to lead to societal and economic development as well. So the mission of my organization is just to bring that college level experience to the communities. We can enhance community knowledge, encourage educational pursuits, provide educational role models, support community-based organizations, which I talked about working across nonprofits, and bring excitement to the learning process, and then develop resources for entry-level positions. So the goals are to educate anybody who wants to learn. It's not just at-risk individuals. If somebody already has a college degree and they want to sit in my program, come on in, because your contributions matter too. Inspire others to pursue their educational goals, even if it doesn't mean a degree. Develop community relationships by working with a lot of community-based organizations and government based organizations, assist learners in achieving their goals. But the biggest thing is for me to transform doubts and fears into actionable plans. Because doubts and fears are the biggest limiters that prevent us from achieving success. Provide access to the material that I already teach in my classroom. Now, one of the nice things about being in my class is I don't believe that students should take notes. I don't like that students take copious notes. Because what happens when students are taking a lot of notes during one of my lectures or one of your professor's lectures? What happens? You're not listening. What are you doing? You're writing notes, and where are you mentally? Taking notes, but you're 10 to 15 seconds behind what I'm talking about right now. What do we do in my class, Anthony? What do you do?
Well, you shared all the notes and stuff on
Absolutely.
so that afterwards we can review them. But
Absolutely.
Actively discuss.
Yeah, my students are engaged in the process. I provide them with a copy of all of my notes. Because if you're taking lots of notes, you are not in that process of active learning. And I want you to be active learning. Because I have 16 weeks, 14 weeks to make a difference in your life. And every minute matters, doesn't it? Because I go exactly to the minute. And then partner with local businesses to develop a resource pool to fill entry-level positions. So what's the differentiator? Solution is mobile. I can, with a laptop, a projector, or just me and a piece of paper, I can show up and teach anywhere. I have a proven record of overcoming challenges, both educationally and personal and professional. I have a personalized approach to teaching. I believe that you can teach an entire room, but then teach to specific individuals. And if you probably noticed throughout the presentation, there's been times that I've engaged with all of you. You can probably feel my eyes going around because that means that I care. That is emotional intelligence because I can see whether you're participating, whether you're not. And what students don't always realize is that you have this big light that shines on your face when you're like confused or you have a question. And I try to pick up on those things by connecting personally. Create a collaborative learning environment that everybody wants to participate. And then learners are expected to actively engage because the more that I can get folks engaged in the process, I know what they're learning. And then they can ask questions at the time that they're learning it, and then they're going to get a lot more out of it. And then achievement is the sole focus and not momentary measurements. I would do away with grades if it was up to me. Because grades don't matter. And I tell my students from the first day is that focus on achievement versus grades. If you do the work, grades will happen, but what I want you to do is to achieve so much more than just checking a box and getting a grade on your transcript. And so my advice for social entrepreneurs, don't allow fear to prevent you from taking a chance. If you've got a dream, go after it. What's the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't work, but at least you tried. Be prepared for objections. This will be the ongoing test of your commitment. Folks are quick to tell you you cannot do something because they're putting their own limitations on you. If you believe in it, go test the waters and see if you can deliver it. One of the other things that I've done is I've redefined the word no to mean new orientation because it is not your place to kill my dream. So if I go to you and I say, I want to do this and you say no, I go to you, and you say no, I go to you. Because if it's my dream and I really am committed to my dream, I'm going to continue to push forward and move forward, even if lots of people tell me no. Because some of the best ideas, best movies, best plays, best whatever, people told them no, that they could not do it. And they put their limitations on it. You have no right to kill my dreams. During challenging moments, remember your passion will fuel your desire, purpose, and not profit. Remember that. And then don't be afraid of failure. It happens to all of us. Failure is one of the best things that has ever happened to me. I am not afraid to fail because I've learned more from my failures than I've ever learned from my successes. And then those authentic stories that from my experiences now can be used to share with other individuals to help them on their journeys as well. And then remember these keys to success. Character. Very important. Your character is who you are and who you convey to others. Honesty. Be honest in everything that you do. There's no reason to lie, cheat, and steal to achieve success. Humility. Be humble about your experiences because that success that you're having today could be a fleeting moment and you could be struggling tomorrow. One of the best lessons that I've ever learned from my brother-in-law is he said to me, don't you ever look down your nose at anyone else. I don't care if they're the janitor of the organization. You treat them with the same respect as you would treat the CEO because they've earned it and they deserve it. Attitude, maintain a positive attitude. Yeah, there's times that we're like, I don't want to do it. But you know what? It's okay. Pick yourself up tomorrow and get moving forward again. Respect for others. Respect people and their time. Intelligence. Have not just mental intelligence, but emotional intelligence as well. Because being able to connect with people is what's the most important thing. Self-respect. If you don't have respect for yourself, how can anybody else really respect you? And then morals. You've got to have morals. I'll let you define that for yourself. And then acceptance of others and their views. I do not need to agree with you, but I can appreciate that you have a different view. What I tell my students is that I want you to think critically in my classroom. If you can tell me how the world was created in 100 words, good for you. If it takes you 1,000 words, good for you. If you want to tell me I'm an absolute, well, maybe not going that far. But if you want to say I fundamentally disagree with your positions, good for you. But what I ask you to do is to be able to back it up and support your positions and tell me why you don't agree. You do not need to agree with me. Because facts are really opinions and assumptions that have been accepted as true over time. And so we can continue to challenge because we'll continue to learn and grow over time. And so hopefully you'll take all of your efforts and contributions and you'll use those to help drive better experiences for all of us so that we all are better. And at the end of everything, it's about charisma, even though there's an extra H. And I didn't even notice this when I wrote this originally, and one of my inmates pointed it out to me. So even one of my own ideas, I didn't even recognize that there was an acronym that actually came out. It wasn't even intentional. And one of my inmates pointed it out to me. And then my contact information. So if you want to learn more about Socrates, it's socrates.org. You can contact me about that at info@socrates.org. My for-profit company, which actually does the work that supports my nonprofit. So I develop my books and then I license them to my nonprofit so that there isn't any cost or overhead associated with that. So you can contact me at beyondsprh.com. There's information there. And then if you want to review my extensive body of work about overcoming challenges and other topics that I write about, and there's lots of videos on there, you can go to my website at soyoung.com, and if you contact me on email, I will respond. Thank you very much for your time.